Ode to a Nightingale by Keats. Having worked for 40 years in tuberculosis prevention and control, I have had a long interest in the life and poetry of John Keats, who tragically died of tuberculosis at the age of 25, long before there was any treatment. This was not surprising, given that he had nursed both his brother and his mother, who both died from this disease. Keats had been studying to be a physician, but gave it up to follow his passion for poetry. When he developed the early signs of TB, it seemed to forge his genius to create a legacy of poems before he succumbed to a long and painful death. Sitting outside one night, the song of the Nightingale brought him joy momentarily, but then made him all the more aware of the fragility of life. He longs to escape the painful realities of rampant sickness at that time, to forget the world and escape with the nightingale into the dark forest. Keats yearned for an easeful death, to cease upon the midnight with no pain. My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and leatherwards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of the happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beech and green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been, cool a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple stained mouth, that I might drink and leave this world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou amongst the least hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last gray's hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despair. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in the embalmed darkness guess each sweet, where with the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Darkling I listen, and for many a times I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names and many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not made for death, immortal bird, no hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient time by emperor and clown, perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth, when, sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that oft times hath charmed magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas and fairy lands forlorn. Forlorn, the very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my soul's self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades, past the near meadow, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glade. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep?